Whether you're a fan of The Last of Us video games or of the critically acclaimed HBO series, there's no denying that The Last of Us has impacted many of us in many ways. I for one love this universe and its incredible themes, from the fall of humanity to an incurable disease to the relationships that people build in this brand new world full of dangers and uncertainty. I love the relationships that we got to see from Joel and Ellie, Bill and Frank, Tommy and Joel, and so many more. The world is already a cruel and dark place, but if anything, this universe shows us that it can get worse. But in some ways, it can be better to start again and learn what it means to be human. Now, it's no secret that humans can do some terrible things, but we can also do some good. One thing I enjoy about The Last of Us is that it shows us that there are no good people and that we would do just about anything to survive, especially for those that we care about and love. The thing that makes The Last of Us great is how we build our connections around certain characters. In part 1 and in the first season of the HBO series, we follow Joel and Ellie closely and we're rooting for those characters throughout their journey of finding the Fireflies. Starting off with Joel, we see him be this loving father to his only daughter Sarah, and in the span of one night, when all hell breaks loose with the cordyceps infection, he loses her not to the infected, but to a soldier. When Sarah died and it was just Tommy and Joel being together for over 20 years, we could see how Joel has become this cynical man who is not afraid of killing anyone who gets in his way. Joel has become cynical because of his failure to protect his daughter. This tragedy traumatized him to his core, and Joel never processed his grief. Instead, he shut all those emotions deep down inside of him. A parent should never have to watch their child die. Unfortunately for Joel, this happens to him. It's why both in part 1 and in the HBO series, we see Joel act so coldly towards everyone, even the few people he trusted like Tess and Tommy. Eventually, Tommy got fed up with Joel and the Fireflies and left them to start over in Jackson. One person would begin to change Joel, and that person would be Ellie. Joel had compartmentalized his feelings for so long that when he meets Ellie, she reminds him of Sarah. Now, at first, Joel behaves coldly towards Ellie, since she just thinks of her as cargo, but when Joel loses Tess, she tells him that he must see this through and get Ellie to the Fireflies. This is where the dynamic begins to shift and change. The way Joel and Ellie protect each other and talk with each other begins to change. Joel begins to see Ellie as his daughter, and Ellie sees Joel as this person who she can trust, will be there for her no matter what. For the first time in a long time, Ellie has someone she can rely on, especially after losing Riley, who was her best friend and who she loved dearly. Joel for the first time begins to be a little open with Ellie when she tells her terrible jokes from her joke book. But Joel soon realizes that he can't continue this journey because he's scared of losing her for the first time in a long time. Joel fears losing someone else. This fear becomes so real after the deaths of Sam and Henry, since they were reflections of Joel and Ellie's relationship, and their journey did not end well. This is the reason why Joel asked Tommy to take her, because Joel does not want to relive the pain of losing another daughter again. Ellie overhears them and runs away, which leads to probably one of the best and most emotional scenes both in the game and in the series.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys? Movies? Deciding which shirt goes with which skirt? It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
After their argument, Joel realizes that he must see this through until the end. They continue their journey, but when Joel gets hurt and Ellie's on her own and is trying to keep him alive, we see what the relationship really is. Ellie cares about Joel just as much as he cares about her. Ellie cannot lose Joel, and she begins to remember her last memories with Riley and how much fun they had together before both got bitten and Ellie would have to kill her best friend. Ellie becomes desperate to keep Joel alive by any means necessary. One day while Ellie would be hunting for food, she would come across a man named David who offered to trade anything to get the deer. In desperation to save Joel, Ellie agreed to give them the deer for medicine, but Ellie had no idea she made a deal with the devil. David wanted Ellie for his own sick and nefarious plans, but was also looking to kill Joel since they were responsible for killing a lot of his guys. Ellie gave the medicine to Joel, but realized that she had left the trail for them to follow her, and not wanting to put Joel in danger, she distracted them away from him, but this led to Ellie being captured. Ellie eventually breaks free, but must confront David to escape the area. Joel in the meantime is making his way through the town trying to save her. This was one of the darkest moments of part 1 and the HBO series, since Ellie realizes that no one is coming to save her, not even Joel, and that she is truly on her own. Ellie is left very traumatized after that, and we can see she has symptoms of PTSD. As Joel and Ellie are entering Salt Lake City, Joel begins to be open with Ellie about Sarah, and he even admits to her that after losing Sarah, he tried to kill himself, but he was a coward and missed. The Fireflies eventually find Joel and Ellie and prepare Ellie for surgery. Joel knows that making a cure for Ellie will result in her dying, and Joel does the selfish thing and decides to rescue Ellie by killing all the Fireflies in his way. While many people that haven't played the video games or seen the series might say it's selfish, for those of us that were with Joel and Ellie from the beginning of their journey, agree with Joel and would have done the same exact thing. Joel escapes with Ellie, and by the time she wakes up, Joel tells her lies that the Fireflies gave up on trying to make a cure. Ellie feels sad because she feels robbed of her purpose. As they make their way back to Jackson, Ellie asks Joel if what he told her was true because she feels like he's lying to her. Joel swears to her that he is, and Ellie accepts it. Until a few years later, she finds out the truth, which leads to Ellie ending the relationship, and she later regrets it after Joel's death. Both Joel and Ellie are very broken people when we first meet them, and yet by the end, they learn to trust each other until they fall out over Joel's decision to save her. One of the best relationships that changed differently from the video game to the live action series was Bill and Frank, but both reflected who Joel could become. In the video game, when we meet Bill, he's just an asshole who trusts no one and is a hint of who Joel could become if he keeps going the way he does. Bill is just some crazy survivor who set up traps all over a town and only agrees to help Joel and Ellie get an engine if they agree to leave his town and never come back. We find out that Bill had a partner named Frank, and he eventually got tired of Bill's crap and decided to get the engine from the heavily infected side of town. Frank got the engine but got infected, and rather than turn, he took the easy way out, but not before leaving a letter behind of Bill telling him how much he hated him. What they did in the show was different, and I think it was much better. Much like in the game, Bill does not trust anyone, and he is in fact happy when the world goes to hell. Bill watches the government take away all the people from his town, and once they leave, Bill begins to fortify the town and build lots of traps all around. Bill is quite happy being by himself until he sees that a person falls into one of his traps. Bill goes to investigate and finds a man named Frank who just escaped from an abandoned quarantine zone. Bill and Frank eventually fall in love with each other and become life partners. Bill and Frank eventually meet Joel and Tess, and both Joel and Bill don't like each other, but they understand each other and begin trading with each other for goods for many years. Many years pass by, and we see that Frank has developed ALS and can no longer walk, with Bill having to take care of him. Frank decides that he no longer wants to live and wants Bill to marry him before overdosing him on his medication.
Bill. Bill. Mm-hmm. Come here. I'm not going to give you the every day was a wonderful gift from God speech. I've had a lot of bad days. I've had bad days with you, too. But I've had more good days with you than with anyone else. Just give me one more good day. Starting now, make me some toast. Then take me to the boutique where I'll pick outfits for us. You'll wear what I ask. We'll get married. And you cook a delicious dinner. Then you will crush all of these up, put them in my wine. I will drink it. Then you will take me by my hand, bring me to our bed, I will fall asleep in your arms. I can't. Do you love me? Yes. Then love me the way I want you to.
This is probably the saddest scene ever. Bill eventually agrees, and we see that this beautiful montage of them getting married before getting ready for their final dinner together. By the time Joel and Ellie get there, they find a note written by Bill that states that they are both dead, and Bill leaves everything to Joel and tells him that he was wrong because there was one person worth saving. This would be a very important lesson and a hint to how Joel would care about Ellie. I won't lie to any of you, this episode of the show completely broke me. While The Last of Us Part 2 is controversial and has many fans split, I can confidently say that the relationships in the game are also important. Abby and Ellie's relationship is uneasy and they both don't like each other, but they both are parallel to each other's past. Abby loses her father to Joel much like Ellie loses Joel to Abby. When you play the game, you can see Abby's a twisted version of Joel, and her whole mission of vengeance and not caring begins to change with people around her, especially when she meets Yara and Lev. Abby decides to protect these kids even though she knows they were once part of the scars. Slowly we see Ellie and Abby switch places where Ellie is consumed by vengeance and her need to kill Abby. Abby slowly comes to care about Yara and Lev much like Joel and started caring about Ellie. Ellie has been consumed by vengeance. She destroys every relationship she has with those around her just like Abby does. After Yara sacrifices herself to save Abby and Lev, they bond more closely. When they leave Seattle, they go down to California in search of the Fireflies like Joel and Ellie's journey in the first game. Ellie for her time gives up her journey to settle down with Dina, but she is constantly haunted and feels great guilt for messing her relationship with Joel and watching him die. Ellie sacrifices her chance at a happy life to go after Abby, but when she finds her, she's almost dead. Abby doesn't want to fight Ellie since she just wants to make sure Lev is safe. Ellie threatens to kill Lev, which forces Abby to fight, but Ellie barely wins but is unable to kill her because of her memories of Joel and lets them go. Ellie goes back to her home with Dina but finds out that they have left her but left her stuff in her room. Ellie's worst fear has come true. She's all alone. Humanity could do amazing things, but we can also do terrible things. We kill and we destroy, but we're also capable of love and growth. The Last of Us is a perfect way to tell and show how we really are deep inside, especially in the apocalypse. I hope we get a new Last of Us game soon. I would love to see a prequel game with Tommy and Joel during the first 20 years of the apocalypse. If you enjoyed my video on The Last of Us, feel free to leave a like and consider becoming a subscriber of the channel. Here's a video YouTube recommends for you to watch.